Welcome everybody, Kristina Wolf here, and I'm the host for the speaker series Energy Mastery, Creating Systems That Support Your Best Life. And today we have with us Julia Rotgers. Julia, welcome, and could you tell our listeners a little bit about what you do?
Hello. Hi, thank you. I'm Julia Rotgers, and I'm a certified success coach, and I work with helping people reach their goals and understand reaching goals using law of attraction and the principles of the science of getting rich.
Nice. All right. So how have you applied those principles in your own work?
One of the main tools that I use is something that I call Goal Rocket. And if you'd like, I'd go through several of the steps and kind of break them down for you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. The first step, which a lot of people talk about, is getting clarity. But I talk about clarity in ways that I think a lot of people don't. There's great questions you can ask yourself as far as what you really want, what really means something to you, and like, if you make a certain amount of money, what are you going to do with that amount of money? And I find that a lot of times when people do those internal kind of research kind of questions, they find a lot of times more confusion than clarity. And so if you
blank space, they don't really know what you're looking for.
Right. Well, we know what we don't want. We know we don't want to be somewhere. We don't want to be working at our job, or we're driving a car that we don't like, or we might have to associate with people or think we have to associate with people that we don't really care for. And often we can list all kinds of things we really don't like, but it's harder to find deep, within you what you really do like, and what really means something to you. And clarity changes also. One of the principles in applying law of attraction is that you have to be honest with where you're at right now. And so what you really desire at this moment in time, when you grow and keep applying things in 6 months, that could really, really change. So one big principle with clarity is to be really honest with who you are genuinely, whether the people around you like that or not, and then discovering through some questioning, through some journaling, meditation, if you use those kind of tools, and then also just conversation, asking yourself why several times in a row can be very helpful. If you want a certain thing, and then ask yourself why, and then you get to a deeper level and ask yourself another why, and sometimes down to 7, 8, 10 levels. And then you finally get to that place where a lot of people will take a deep sigh, or, their demeanor changes a little bit. It's like there's this opening, or something kind of washes over you. Yeah. And you get like, you really know that's what it is.
Yeah.
So the first step is always really to get clear.
Mm-hmm. And that's for entrepreneurs, they would apply that with maybe their vision, what they want for their business, or who they want to serve, that type of thing.
Yeah, you can. Clarity's not the same as having a vision or a mission, because clarity is what really drives you. It's more what your real passion is, and what's really you. In other words, there's things that will drive your business that's really core to you, that might not make sense to other people. And you might not verbalize it in your mission statement or how you're going to serve people. But it becomes that thing that drives you and keeps you going and
Kind of
keeps
like
you
the
moving
operating
forward.
system running in the background, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So, so we get clear on
Hmm.
what it is that really is our passion, and then what?
And then the next step is you'll start formulating goals and things that you want to do. And you reverse engineer those so that you break them down into manageable steps.
Mhm.
One of the things that is not directly shared but kind of implied in the science of getting rich is that you can't just, if you're going up a flight of stairs, say, you can't just go from the bottom to the top all at once. There are steps in between. And so you can take those steps very fast. You can, take 2 or 3 steps at a time, but there are steps that you need to take. And one thing about reverse engineering your goals is that you break them down into smaller pieces, and it bypasses a lot of your resistance. Because if you say you want to make $250,000 or $100,000, your mind can't figure that out. But if you break that down, $100,000 a year is a little over $8,000 a month, which is a little over $2,000 a week. So $2,000 is a lot easier to figure out that step. And that step will still get you to $100,000 a year. And so breaking them down helps bypass your resistance, and it also gives you the steps to take so that you can stay on track day after day. Because that consistently staying on the same path is what gets you to where you want. Because as entrepreneurs, we're exposed to so many things, so many wonderful things. People teach great things. They have all kinds of stuff to share and stuff for us to learn. And it's really easy to switch paths. And pretty soon you're on a path that's not taking you anywhere near what you wanted to really be doing.
Right. Which that's why you got to know clarity ahead of time and stay on that path. Yeah. So how do you feel about the idea though that you hear a lot of manifestors talking about, you just say, here's the goal, but let the divine and universe figure out the how. You know the what, but let them figure out the how. And so you don't necessarily have to know all of the steps, but it's filled in somehow.
Yes.
Steps sort of pop up as you go along.
They do. And it all works together. It's, law of attraction is a lifetime of learning. If you have studied law of attraction for years, you're still going to learn throughout your lifetime. Mm-hmm. Because it's not just, you can't say one thing and that's all there is to it. And so that's true. You do let go of the how things happen in a lot of ways. And focus on the end result, on what you want to see as the end result. But at the same time, and you don't take steps until you're clear. So you have that clarity first. It's kind of assuming you have that clarity first before you reverse engineer your goals. But then you won't know every step, but you'll know the next step. And sometimes you'll know 2 or 3 steps. And then until you take that action and take those next steps, you won't normally get the further steps revealed. So I always say, if you've got it all mapped out, if you have it all figured out and you know exactly what's going to happen, then you don't allow for any miracles. You don't allow for any divine anything, because it's just all your little pea brain can figure out. So you've got to let go of some of that a little bit, for sure.
So we've got the clarity, we've got the reverse engineering, and from there, what do we do next?
Well, so the next steps are really what I call the core of the goal rocket. Mm-hmm. And as you reach for goals and using law of attraction, one of the things that's often missed is that you have to have a level of detachment. You can't have this neediness, I sometimes call it. In other words, you do want it. It is a desire, but there needs to be a level of detachment, or it pushes it away. And
neediness is like an anxiety that you won't receive it, or you're focusing more on the fact that you don't have it versus appreciating it, expecting it.
right, kind of. Yeah, it's hard to explain because I only really know it by the way I feel when I am detached. And that's how I learned these goal rocket games, or what I call manifestation games.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is a future interview, or a reverse interview, sometimes I call it. And sometimes I'll picture it just like I'm sitting down at the table with a friend and coffee, and they're asking me, what happened? How did it happen? Who was there? What was the weather like? Where were you? Where did you put the money? Or, just whatever the goal is. I have this interview, and sometimes I've role played with people to do this, but what I do, it's almost an active meditation where I think about all that's going to happen in the future. Now with that, that I'm not patterning it out, that it has to go exactly this way to control everything, but that I can already see myself there. Because the thing is, without that detachment, if you stay attached to your goal and the whole process and the way it's going to end, and you just kind of want to have control over it all, it slows the whole process down. But if you can get to that place where in your mind you already see it as done, then you, as odd as it sounds, you don't need it anymore. And so when you get to that feeling where it's like, it's already here, I already have it, I know it's coming, it's just that there's some steps I need to make in the world to make it visible in the real world, but in me it's there. And so that's why I say it's hard to explain exactly how
by kind of doing that active meditation, you're creating it already on the energetic level, so now the physical doesn't feel so hard coming to you.
Right. It's similar to like when you just get that clarity, and you've gotten to that point. For me, I just sigh. It's like I get this almost melting feeling. I don't know how to explain it. And everybody's different. That's the thing. Some people get clear ideas. Some people hear audible words. Some people get feelings in specific parts of their, body, their chest relax, or their shoulders finally relax. For everybody, it's different. So
that's that moment they're receiving like a divine message or information at that point.
It's kind of the point where you release it over to the universe.
Okay.
It's like, I know it's coming. It's already, to me, it's already here. It's your job now. Take over.
Yeah. Okay. So now we've released it. What do we do now?
Well, so you've reversed engineer your goal, and you have the steps that you know how to take. And it's not every step, like we said. And then you take time to reevaluate. So again, everybody works a little differently. Some people journal. For them, their journal is their evaluation. I'm very visual, so I like things like mind maps or even drawings on the wall. At one time, I had basically it was just a hand drawn vine on a big piece of paper. And that vine went across the wall. And as I took steps, I drew on this, the leaves either went up or they went down. They went up or they went down. And so I, in that way, kept track of my activities to see for myself visually if what I was doing was taking me up or taking me down. Meaning, was it taking me closer to my goal or was it taking me away from my goal? And so that works for me. Some people love electronic devices. I have one lady that I work with. She does nothing on paper, nothing in a notebook. She does everything on her phone, and she has a little app that she takes, everything down. And then I have some evaluation sheets that just basically say, what was your goal? What did you do towards your goal? What didn't get accomplished, and why? No, not for an excuse, not for condemnation, but to kind of expose, okay, did I not have the tools I needed? Did I come up to, resistance that I need to figure a way around or figure a way through, or, work on myself on something? But you've got to have that awareness and reevaluation, or you just get scattered. Excuse me, sorry about that. You just get scattered in different areas, and so that reevaluation lets you again get clear on what you're doing. So you have your main clarity, but then for some people it's weekly, monthly. You shouldn't go more than 6 months, I don't think, without really making sure you're clear on where you're going and what you're wanting.
So it's not necessarily with every step you're reevaluating. It's just maybe a cycle or something that you've set out a goal, and then once you've achieved that goal, then you'll reevaluate at that point, or maybe when you set out the goal and you haven't quite reached it, you'll figure out maybe why am I not reaching it, so I'm going to reevaluate. So is that
it depends on you, really, because I use it at different stages. When I'm in the middle of things, I do like to evaluate at the end of every day. Okay, I set out to do this today. Did I get it done? The activities that I took, did they keep me on my path? Or, did they not? And sometimes it's daily. Sometimes it's weekly.
So it's really more up to the person themselves, the individual, and what they're doing and how they're feeling. Do they really feel it's necessary to reevaluate at this point or not?
It depends on what you're doing and how fast you want to move. Really, I think the reevaluation piece is one a lot of people miss. I think that people take a lot of action and don't take the time to say, hey, does every step that I take move me closer to my goal? One of the exercises that I have had clients do is what I call a straight line exercise. And I tell them, tell me the quickest, fastest, straightest line way you could take to go from where you are now to where you want. And it's not probably going to be the steps that you actually take, but it shows you how quickly you could really get what you wanted. And so the reevaluation, I think, is really necessary, sometimes daily. And so I wouldn't necessarily say just leave it up to your discretion or how you feel about it, because so many times how we feel about things doesn't necessarily keep us on the right track. And the reevaluation can be a little confronting at first. To say, hey, I plan to do 3 really important things today. And instead, I played with the kids and I cleaned the house and I answered all my messages. All may have been also important, but they were not those 3 things that would have really taken me closer to my goal. So if I do that in the evening and reevaluate, then I can go, why? And then you get that honesty with yourself, which helps you maintain your clarity, because you really have to be honest with where you are to stay clear.
All right.
This is a circle. The goal rocket is really just a big circle, and you can use it, like I said, daily, or some things take longer. Sometimes, quarterly reevaluate and set a new goal.
So for an entrepreneur, you really think this is a great tool to use to help them create some infrastructure for themselves as far as staying focused and on their mission. If they're not clear on it, maybe this will help them get clear on what it is that they want to do to serve their tribe, or whatever you want to call it. And once you've achieved that goal, what do you do with it then? Just move on to the next one and start, like you say, it's a cycle all over again. You go to the next.
It is a cycle, and it's always good to put in a period of celebration, and acknowledge what you've done, where you've gone, celebrate, and then you don't necessarily just move on to the next goal. It's not to make things machine-like. You're just not moving on to the next thing. But the thing that I found with the steps is that the goal rocket steps is that it has helped me just reach one goal after the other, but not in an intense way. I do the steps now where they're just naturally a part of what I do. I reevaluate without condemnation, and sometimes I don't do anything that I should do during the day. I'm just like anybody else. But I decided long ago, like Jack Canfield says, to take 100% responsibility for my life. And that's a big part of using and utilizing law of attraction in your life. So that reevaluation helps me regroup and stay honest and
yeah, it's definitely probably the piece where you get the most self-knowledge.
True.
Where you get to see, what you like, you go for it, and then you realize how maybe you're self-sabotaging yourself, and then you can reevaluate and again gain clarity and then continue the process. Yes, it's really, I think that's good. It gives you that guidelines, because otherwise as an entrepreneur, you're typically don't have as much structure in your day. There's nobody, you're the boss. You're the one determining how you spend your day and your time and your thoughts and your energy. And it's good to have these structures that you apply to yourself to help you, because that's what keeps things moving forward. Definitely. Yeah.
True.
So, we're reaching the end of our interview time, but I understand you teach this process. You have some classes coming up, and how can our folks get a hold of you if they want to look into that?
Well, if they're interested in the Goal Rocket Masterclass, I've got some resources, free resources, just to introduce you to the concept and there's an audio and a visual portrayal of how the process works, which you can see at or get that at timeunleashed.com.
Okay. And then you're on Facebook as well. And it's Julia and then Rotgers. Okay.
Right.
All right. That way they can find you and check out all the stuff that you're up to these days. So
yes. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and I am so glad we got to discuss all this really awesome stuff. And I guess we'll tell our listeners good night.
All right. Good night. Thank you, Kristina.
Okay.